Hi, I'm Sonia Shivago.
I'm Adriana Villi.
We are actors,
Writers,
directors,
producers,
and we're two best friends
who made a movie
about two best friends.
Our movie is called Virgins by Choice. Join us for some real girl talk as we dive into some deep issues.
Unfiltered
Yes.
girl talk. You're welcome.
Real life, baby. Real life.
Hello, Internet.
Hello, Internet. That's
Wait,
our line.
This is what we
that
do.
she came up with. Grand.
Today, we are getting a little dark because it's winter and we're all feeling a little bit low energy. And some people have seasonal. Is it seasonal affective disorder or seasonal? It's called SAD.
Sad.
What's the A stand for?
Seasonal affective disorder.
I think that's what it is.
Pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about different terms today.
We will.
I could
will.
look this up on the internet, but I'm pretty sure it's seasonal affective disorder, which is interesting. And I feel like everybody up in Canada, well, you said everyone is suffering from a vitamin D deficiency up here.
Oh, yeah. We're definitely going to have talks about that in upcoming episodes, like just some of the supplements that I found that have helped me, especially during the winter months. But we have no sun, no light, shorter days, darker days. It's winter, so it's a lot easier to fall into feeling just low mood.
And not wanting to leave your house and just watching and binging a lot of TV shows.
Yeah, so staying curled up and cozy.
Yeah, which isn't always bad, again, if it's an intentional hermit mode, but...
Yeah, and if it feels restorative and makes you feel good, like at peace and you have joy, then it's great.
So loss of faith.
Loss of faith today is what we're going to talk about. Loss of faith in life, loss of hope.
And grief.
Yes, and grief.
And loss.
Yeah, and loss. Those are a lot of loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is something that we explore in the film at great length, different types of losses. For Luna, she's, coming out of a marriage, right? So there's grief from divorce. And from in her situation, there was abuse. So from that as well.
Yeah.
And for Lily?
And for Lily, she's coming out of a broken engagement, so loss there. And that spirals her into a loss of faith. For her, it's faith in God, spirituality. But we kind of termed it also a loss of faith in life, that like life is inherently good and there's goodness, and having that hope and just having a loss like that things are happening for you, and kind of losing sight of that in the midst of pain and trauma and loss and darkness.
It does feel like sometimes it's a snowball.
For sure.
One thing leads to another, and then it's another. And at one point you're like, okay, is there like a cruel joke on me? Like, when is this going to stop?
Yeah, it's like you reach a breaking point. And for Lily, that's for sure. She has reached her breaking point, and it's like a complete, like, she's giving up faith completely. And she was a person of very great faith. So for her, that's a huge deal.
And she's willing to give up her virginity.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah.
It's a big deal.
Big deal for this character.
And then Luna says, hey, let's not have sex for a year. And then the fun begins, and you need to watch the movie so that you know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
But it's great. So these are things that we explore at great length in the film.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about it more now. We know that there are like 5 stages of grief.
Yes.
There's probably more. There's just this one model that became quite popular. Dr. Kubler-Ross is...
Yes.
We've
got
this whole
our
thing
trusty
started.
internet to help us.
Yes, and I found a fun little picture because I like pictures. So we're gonna go through each stage, and I think it doesn't always happen in order.
No, but I think I think it's like the initial part of it. I think commonly happens in this order, but it's definitely not linear. And we talked about this ourselves, is that it becomes like a cycle. I think especially after you go through some of the first few stages, and then you kind of loop back. Yeah. So
although I feel like once you've reached the final stage.
Oh yeah.
So it's like the final stage, acceptance.
Yeah.
Right? So just a preview, it's denial, it's anger, it's bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So those are the stages. We'll go through each of them, but yeah, I feel like once you get to acceptance,
Yeah, then you're,
although sometimes you feel like I'm over this, and then you're like, no, I'm not.
well, this is the thing, and that's when something might trigger you,
Yep.
and then the grief all comes back. But I think it's always layers. So
Yeah.
you kind of reach a level of healing or a layer of healing with
The
something.
5 onions of grief.
Oh,
coined
yes.
by Adriana.
The Virgins by
Villi.
Choice.
Yes, yes. The 5. We're gonna change it to the 5 onions.
The 5 onions.
5 onion layers.
Yes.
Because an onion makes you cry.
So true. So this could work.
Oh my gosh, we should make a diagram about this. I'm sure there's an AI that could help with that.
5 onion layers of grief.
So yeah, so that's an ours.
Gotta love some of our comic relief, because you know what? Sometimes if you don't laugh, you're just gonna cry a bit more. So you gotta find the humor sometimes in even in the sadness.
Humor gets people through crazy situations all the time. So it's really an amazing tool, actually, of getting out of being stuck, right? If you're able to kind of be like, okay, yeah, this is funny. Like, wow, I'm really going through it.
Yes. Just, it's that's why they call it comic relief.
Yes.
This is exactly the reason.
And relief and grief rhyme. Just thought everybody should know that. You put the relief and grief for me.
Oh my God.
But it's not quite true, but whatever.
The
relief. Okay, so denial. What is denial? It's disbelief and shock. It's numbness or emotional attachment. Detachment, and avoiding reality.
Yes. So, I mean, I feel like these things are definitely, when you have a loss of a loved one, like a death, this is extremely prevalent. It's that like moment of shock, but it's also in other times of loss where you're just like, you can't believe what is happening. I think that feeling, right, I relate to this a lot. I think it's happened to me definitely after breakups, but even after other like losses, where you're waking up in the morning and for a few seconds you don't remember, right, like what's going on in your life, and then it hits you like a wave. So that is intense. And where it's, you're still in shock that it's actually, this is what is happening in your life, right?
Well, yeah, I've had dreams where I wake up crying.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like you're
in
and
it.
Actually, I mean, it's interesting how our dream state helps us process grief. Because for me, when I was going through like a lot of grief, it was showing up in my dreams. I was having the most vivid dreams. I normally don't get such vivid dreams. Like I have dreams. I kind of know what's going on. It's a little hazy, but not really. But it didn't feel like dreams. It felt like I was doing therapy at night, and I was encountering and having conversations.
Yeah.
And I actually, for me in my dreams, a lot of anger came out, because I guess that's what's more repressed. So I was having dreams where I was screaming, I was saying things, and I'm like, I would not do that in person.
That's what's so interesting. I was going to say this about you, right? I was going to say, I think that's why it was happening in your dreams, because she has so much peace and love, and even as a person, like tries to,
to take
remain
the higher path,
right? Yeah,
grace.
Exactly. Take the higher path of grace and remain in that peace and loving state. Yeah. And I think that's why. But the anger is real and a part of our humanity.
It's the next stage. The anger leading right into it. Irritability.
Yeah.
Agitation, outbursts, and then resentment and blaming yourself or others.
Yes, resentment is a big one.
I mean, we see that in the film.
Yes, we definitely see that in the film. So much anger. Much anger.
We even talk about that. I think that's literally a line I say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So much anger.
So much anger. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lily's character is very angry at God. Like that's where she directs her anger. She's just so angry.
Yeah.
I mean, she takes Jesus off her wall, hanging above her bed. Like it's a huge act for her of anger. And I think it's funny, even people that don't have a lot of faith, you see that, like that turning when you're experiencing a loss, even if you don't believe in God, like people get angry at God. Yeah. It's kind of interesting, right? That we just turn to that, like we turn to the universe, and we have that expression of anger at life or at God.
Well, makes sense, because if you went from denial to, okay, this didn't really happen, I don't want to think about this, I can't deal with this, to realizing shit, it happened, Yeah,
Yeah.
you're going to be like, what?
True.
On earth, and why is this happening to me, and why can't I catch a break, and am I cursed, and all this stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay, then we go into bargaining. So bargaining,
Yes.
you're making a promise or deal with a higher power, speaking of God.
Yes.
Asking what if or if only, or like, hey, can we kind of like, if I do this, can I get this back? So
Yeah.
it's interesting how we do that with bargaining. I feel like you do that when you kind of come out of like a relationship where you might have been codependent or it might have been abuse. And
Yeah.
it's easy to do that step and be like, okay, like, and I mean, that step is dangerous because if the other person's like, yeah, I'm fine now, like, I will be nice to you now, then that bargaining, it could seem like the other person's like, yeah, sure, we can make things different this time. We can adjust things. We can make things better.
Yeah.
Bargaining is,
Can be a bit dangerous.
but it says it's to do with a higher power, so not a significant other. So,
Yeah.
so it should be a higher power.
Yeah. Usually like, yeah, exactly. If you do this, I'll do this.
Well, that's something that Lily does not do.
No, she doesn't. She's just so overdone. She just cuts him off.
You said you would never lead me astray, so what's this then? I'm done. Yep, that's what I said. I'm done. Done.
She just forgets about bargaining. She goes straight into depression, which is the next one.
True.
Prolonged and intense feelings of sadness, loss of interest in one's enjoyable activities, difficulty sleeping, eating, concentrating, and I have some more symptoms of depression here. Persistent sadness or low mood, a loss of interest or pleasure, changes in appetite or weight, sleep disturbances, fatigue, loss of energy, feelings of worthlessness or guilt, difficulty concentrating. That's an interesting one because that could also just be that another issue. Could be anxiety, could be you have ADHD or something. Like that doesn't have to be. But if you normally don't have issues with concentrating and now you suddenly have issues with concentrating, maybe could be a sign that you're dealing with depression. Agitation or slowed movements. That's interesting. Agitated movements. But reoccurrent thoughts of death or suicide. So yeah.
Yeah. And again, these are part of the stages of grief, but people can be just going through this just because, as we were talking about in the winter season, right? In a grayer season, feeling like unmotivated and, sluggish and low energy.
So in the film, this is where the pact comes in because they say, okay, let's do this so we don't, fall into a deep depression.
Yeah.
And that you have like a friend to rely on and get through the dark night of the soul with.
Yes, exactly. Just Luna's line is literally like, we've been through some major shit here.
And we need time to heal.
We need time. Yeah, we need time to heal.
You honestly think that I should be committing to no sex for a year? We need time. Time to heal.
And then acceptance once you go through this cell. Although I do feel like I in the past have bounced between depression and anger a lot, back and forth. Like I'd grieve, but then I'd get angry all over again. I feel like it'd always be like, man, I'm angry all over again. I remember that I'm like, I'm angry.
Yeah.
Like it's from beginning, like none of that. It's like one step forward, two steps back.
Yeah. And I think that that's, again, part of that cycle, right? The cycle of going through the grief and even feeling those feelings of resentment. You might come to a place of peace with something for, at a certain day or on a certain level. And then all of a sudden something triggers you or you have a memory of something. And then you're back to feeling resentful and feeling super angry. Yeah.
And then we get to acceptance. And how we get to acceptance? Well, that's another episode. Most likely therapy. Recognizing and acknowledging the loss. Okay, so that's really saying, okay, that's not being in denial about it. You feel into the loss.
Yeah.
And then renewed sense of meaning and purpose. That's interesting. A renewed sense of meaning and purpose.
Yeah, I think it's almost like finding yourself again.
Rebuilding. It's
that's the Phoenix.
Phoenix. We love Phoenix. We love the coming out of the rubble.
Yeah. I mean, that's been something super significant for myself. And I think
for me, it's a butterfly.
Yeah.
But it's coming out of cocoon to a butterfly.
Yeah.
It's still things that fly.
That transform, basically, right? It's like, so for the Phoenix, it's like coming out of the ashes. And I love that image, like of just everything is just burned through. And I
Mhm.
think we feel that when we're going through loss and grief and pain, and then and even depression. If you suffer from bouts of depression, maybe only in the winter with sad, or
Mhm.
just certain times of your life where you kind of get sucked back in, depending on what you're going through. It's always the sense of rebuilding and then
Mhm.
coming out of it transformed, and that's like this beautiful image of the phoenix, coming out transformed into a completely
Mhm.
different creature, and you have rebuilt yourself and you have found a new sense of meaning and purpose. I
Mhm.
think that's almost inevitable if you've truly come out of the other
Yeah.
side, right? Like that feeling of your what has
Yeah.
happened to you has changed you forever. And if you are able to cycle through it, with some tools, with some strength, and actually make it to the other side, you do
Mhm.
feel like a sense of empowerment, even though that pain and that um,
Yeah.
loss, it will never, and it's not to diminish just because you've come to the other side. It's not to diminish the value of what you lost, especially if it was a loved one. Like that's like something
Mhm.
we never maybe completely get over, right? We just
Yeah.
learn to live in a new way, right? We're learning
Yeah.
this new being that we've become is like kind of process that pain, just like the phoenix with the ashes. It internalizes those ashes and recreates something different from them,
Mhm.
you know?
And I think it's not like, oh, now that you have acceptance, you can never cry about this or feel low about this. Like there's some losses that they're so significant that
Yeah.
like it will stick with you for the rest of your life, but you're able to live your life through it and you're able to like
Yeah.
not be stuck in a full stage of grief, but have moments, right?
Yeah.
Where you can honor that loss
Yeah.
and take, what you're grateful
Yeah.
from that.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you picked a phoenix and I picked a butterfly, things that fly, because there is a sense of levity. Like it's
Yeah.
the energy is coming from you're just so like down and low and everything is so sluggish and it's so hard and everything is so heavy. And then all of a sudden you can
Yeah.
breathe again. It's like you can
Yeah.
inhale. And it's like the
Yes.
whole time you're holding your breath.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you can like exhale and
Yeah.
then breathe
Yeah.
normally again.
Interesting too, especially with the image of the butterfly,
Mm-hmm.
because the butterfly is in a cocoon.
Yeah.
So it's like that loss of air, like what you're
Yeah.
saying, right? Or even I'm like the image of drowning. Like sometimes I feel like grief is a lot like that. You feel like you're drowning.
Yep.
So yeah, that's beautiful. Coming up for air.
It's interesting how like you can look at it through all the elements, like with fire and ashes and then water and
Yeah.
earth being buried. Like we have all these terms of like when we talk about these things
Yeah.
that deal with the elements, even air, right? Like feeling like your oxygen tank's been cut. You can't breathe, right?
Yeah.
Because Mother Nature
Yeah.
goes through cycles, goes through its own loss and
Yeah.
rebirth, right? And that's where this is kind of a natural cycle of life
Yeah.
where it's something that everybody goes through and you're not alone in it. And you can see it in nature. So for me, I found a lot of like healing through looking at the cycles of
Yeah.
nature and being out and seeing the tree leaves fall. And then after winter comes spring, right? There's hope, there's renewed sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And it can give you meaning. I feel like when you go through like a really, really deep, significant loss, it rips your heart open and you can feel everything so more intensely. So you become so much more empathetic and compassionate to everyone else. So it's like it's almost like a superpower of empathy that you develop because now someone else that's gone through what you're going through, you're not gonna judge them for like why they take so long to get over. Like you're gonna understand that pain. Like we are connected through pain,
Yeah.
and that is it can be a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't, as long as you can come out of it.
Yeah.
Right. You don't get
Yeah.
stuck there and then think there's no purpose to life. Right. So
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, again, there's no timeline because everybody is different.
yeah.
And it's, I think just that even the acceptance it's funny. The acceptance is the last step, but
Mhm.
it's almost like the acceptance has to be through every stage, like the
Yeah.
acceptance of where you are, the acceptance that you're in denial,
Mhm.
the acceptance that you're angry right now, and that's
Yeah.
okay, right? The acceptance that you're in this depression phase, and it not to lay down in that and like let it swallow you up forever,
Mhm.
but accept that that's part of the process and that's okay. And finding the support systems that
Yeah.
you need, right? Like with Lily and Luna in the film, right? It's their friendship, and so that's one of the ways. And plus, they're gaining tools
Mhm.
along the way to actually look at some of these things for healing. Like it's
Yeah.
they're journaling, and they're having like they're talking like through things. They have some rituals they go through. They do a bunch of different things throughout in order to actually facilitate what's going
Mhm.
on, process that pain, right?
And I think it's also just really important to know that if you're dealing with grief and a loss, you need to ask for help. Like
Yeah.
this is not the time. You got to put the pride aside and be like, okay, maybe you can normally handle things on your own and you can do it all.
Yeah.
But maybe now's the time, like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to keep my house is clean. Maybe that needs to go. Maybe I need to hire a cleaner. Like being kind to yourself and being
Yeah.
like, okay, like
Yeah.
what was once easy now is going to be harder, right? We have to accept that too, right?
Yeah.
That if you can make some changes and take some things off your plate, or just say, hey, I'm going through something. Tell your family, tell your friends, so
Yeah.
that they can help you. And then when they offer help, don't immediately say no. I've got it. Just
Yeah.
allow people to help you.
We say that from experience.
Yes.
Okay. We say that because we've done this ourselves,
Exactly.
right?
It's what Luna and Lily do. Like they allow each other to help each other, right?
Yeah.
Like, so that's where it makes this journey easier if you are, what is it, going through hell, right? And you keep walking, but
Yeah.
you've got someone with you.
Yeah.
Like,
to hold on
you can
to.
make some jokes in hell and have some fun, because
While you're
by
going
yourself,
through.
it's sadder. It's just
it's
talking to yourself in hell.
It's hard. It's
not
really
fun.
hard.
But like, at least with another person, you're like, hey man, like this really sucks, doesn't it? Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
It sucks. Let's grab a healthy kombucha, because that's what they make in hell these days. They're really, really fit down there.
They're fit down there, apparently.
It's all the mean influencers down there. Oh, sorry. Well, some of them, I mean,
Maybe.
you worry about their souls. Okay, we divert.
But
We'll
I
talk
think it's about
religion
balance.
another day.
We will. It's about balance. That's all I feel like.
Yes.
Even like, because I think sometimes when you're going through a loss, there is this sense that you need to be alone. Like and I think that there's value in that. But again, it's that balance of like, not to be so alone, so alone and so isolated that now you're really in the depths of depression when really you could use a coffee with a friend.
But
right?
You can even say, I want to be alone, but can you be at my house and can you take care of my dog for the day? I want to I need to be in bed and grieve.
Cry in my room.
And can you please take my dog for some walks so that I can just focus on allowing all these feelings and, so you don't have to be talking about it. You can just be asking for help in other ways. Right?
Totally.
Families, a lot of families are happy. A lot of parents are happy to come over and cook for you and bring you food and stuff. So
yes.
And friends too, to bring you a casserole. There's many ways that you can accept help.
Yeah, exactly.
And the last thing I would say, I think what has given me purpose is what I've learned through loss, and then being able to put that into art or in talking about it.
Yeah.
It makes it feel like it wasn't all in vain. Like this knowledge and this wisdom of life, you can now share, whether it's with a friend or through art or something, to be like, hey, you pay it forward. Right?
Yeah.
You pass the torch on.
Yeah.
So that can give you a sense of purpose to then talk about what you've gone through to someone who's just at the beginning of that stage.
Yeah. And sometimes when you're in the thick of it, that might not feel like something, to like, give it to someone else. Like, I really don't want to be able to have this knowledge for someone. I'd rather not feel this pain.
You're not going to enjoy it yet.
You're not going to enjoy it. But eventually, I think that purpose comes,
Well,
right?
that's the acceptance part.
Yeah,
This
it
is
will comes it eventually. But just to say, sometimes when you're in the middle of it, like it's hard to find the things that you're grateful for. And maybe that's okay too, right? You can find them, try to find them in the little things. But I know for myself, like by personal experience, sometimes like I'll beat myself up because I'm like, well, I should be feeling grateful. I should be. And there's moments where it's hard to feel grateful, even to find something different to feel grateful for. And maybe just allowing for that, for some of that time. Now, we know that gratitude is super helpful in helping us to get over even depression and all these different things. Like they're tools that can help. But sometimes, again, you just need to allow for that time. You just need to allow for some of that time and not feel like you should be feeling certain things.
I find it interesting that there's no stage called forgiveness in this model, even though for some people that's an important stage. I think sometimes that creates a situation where it's asking a lot of someone,
especially at the beginning of stuff,
to forgive. As let's say it's a betrayal in this situation, right? To forgive. You don't need to, you just need to make peace with it. You need to and not forget it, but like there's a way to have acceptance, but then and not have bitterness towards someone and resentment, but also not forgive the action.
Yes, we have a whole other episode on
values,
yeah,
right? So anyway, it's interesting that forgiveness is not something that you need to do in the 5 stages. If we look at it as an onion in our model,
the onion is good,
right? And it's like you're looking at a juicy onion, right? And maybe the first layer of the onion is denial, right? Because it doesn't make you cry yet. But the moment you rip off one layer, then you start to get some tears. Yeah. And then when you get to the final core, you're like, it's so much crying. So I wonder if crying and allowing that pain, you end up crying more and more and more. Even acceptance, you can have tears of joy. You don't stop crying. So anyway, what I like about our model we just came up with right here, right now, is that it somehow mentally prepares you for the amount of crying that might happen. Because that's really healthy. It's really healthy to cry, right?
Yeah, very purging.
It's good to make yourself cry sometimes. It's like, otherwise you're emotionally constipated.
Oh, it's worst.
So if you can watch sad movies or things to help you cry and like produce those tears so that you keep getting to the heart and the heart of the onion till they get to the core. And then at the end, what is it? You made an onion salad.
onion rings?
That's the transformation.
Onion rings?
You could do onion rings. You could fry that onion up. You could mince it, whatever. The point is you can now take the onions and you can make a salad, and there's your transformation. So that's why our model is superior.
Our model is superior.
Oh my goodness.
It's hilarious.
Oh, anyway, you got that visual of the onions, and then you make a salad. Life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Life gives you an onion, you make an onion salad.
Who makes an onion salad? We should find a recipe for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it gives you a little bit of flavor. See, once you got the onions, you got a little extra flavor in life.
It's true.
Right? So
it is true.
Makes you a little more spicy. Makes you a little bit more. Gives you a little bit of an onion edge. Also, it might give you some bad breath. So
okay,
where am I going with that?
Where are we going?
Maybe
with this?
You really need to up the oral hygiene when you go through the 5 stages of grief.
If you enjoyed our chat today, definitely like and subscribe.
And again, if you didn't, please don't tell us.
That's what we're going to say every time. We like to, enhance the positivity in the world. We actually really do.
Also, let us know. Do you like this idea of an onion? Is that something interesting to you? Would you like a diagram of the onion? With something we could make? I don't know. Whatever helps you.
Does it resonate? What is the onion layering? Yeah. Does it resonate? Let us know.
An onion. And they're going to throw onions at us instead of tomatoes at the end of this episode.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Of course, if you are dealing with a severe loss or grief or depression, always great to talk to your healthcare professional. As we talked about, just getting anyone, but definitely your healthcare professional is a great place to start.
Yes. Yeah. And there's numbers to call and places and resources, and we'll put everything in the bio. So please ask for help if you think you need it. And take it from us. We've been through like
Yeah.
a lot, and we're able to stand up here and talk to you and joke, and it gets better.
Yeah, you do get to the other side, definitely. Yeah, for us, we definitely did a lot to seek for that healing to be able to get to the other side, and we will talk about that in future episodes. So stay tuned.
Bye, Internet.